What's up, guys? How's it going? So I'm going to talk about a concept that's super important in PT school that you usually learn your first semester of class, and usually like your biomechanics class. And that's the slide, glide, convex, concave, that whole rule. So this is a concept that I think took me a while to learn in school. At first, I think it was it's a very difficult concept at first if you've never talked about it. So I thought I'd make this video just to kind of try to make it a little bit easier to kind of what helps me in my mind when I think of the convex concave rule. So first, before we do that, I'm gonna explain glide and slide and kind of like what that looks like. Move that real quick. All right. So to demonstrate this, pretend this is a tire. This is kind of how I learned it when I first learned about glide and slide and roll and all that. So pretend this is a tire. So talking about the roll first. If you're talking about roll and you're talking about a car tire, kind of like this, the roll would look something like this if your car is going. So as you can see, as the ball's going, the roll, you're making contact with different points on the ball as it's going. So that's pretty simple roll. The glide or the slide, which is pretty much the same thing. Thinking of a car tire, think about it as if your car is not going and the tire is just pretty much stationary, and you were just to slide the whole car with the tires across the street. So it would look something like this. So with the glide, you can see, compared to the roll, the glide, you have one point of contact with, the same point of contact going across the floor the whole way, versus the roll, where you have different points of contact hitting the ground as it goes. So how does this relate to physical therapy and all the joints and all that? So the easiest joint for me to visualize is the shoulder joint. So as most of you know, let me put this bit back. As most of you know, your shoulder joint, it's a ball and socket joint. So you got your ball, got your glenoid fossa, kind of sits in like that. So if we're to think of shoulder flexion, so if I were to put my arm up like this, according to the rule, it's a convex surface, so the ball's the convex surface on a concave surface, which is the glenoid fossa, as you do flexion. So since it's convex on concave, according to that rule, your roll and your glide are going to be in opposite directions. So as I do flexion, your roll is going to be superior. So visually, your roll is going to look like this because you're flexing your arm. So starting with the roll, if you were to pretend you had hypothetically no glide and you just had the roll, it would look something like this. It would just keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling. And hypothetically, the roll would take you out of the glenoid fossa and you would just kind of keep rolling out. So the importance of the glide in this case, which is why you have it, is to keep that glenohumeral joint into the glenoid fossa. So you had a superior roll, and since it's a superior roll, convex concave, it's opposite, you'd have an inferior glide. So what the glide does is as you're rolling, it's also going to glide down back into the fossa to keep it in there. So as you're flexing your arm, it's rolling and it's gliding down. So again, without that glide, if you were just to have the roll, hypothetically, your arm would just roll out of that glenoid fossa. But because you do have that glide, that inferior glide, it's going to keep it as your arm is flexing in that fossa that whole time. So as long as you can visualize that, I think that's the best way I can visualize it. Thinking about if you were to keep flexing your arm and you didn't have that glide into it, your arm would pretty much roll out of its socket as you're flexing your arm because it doesn't have that inferior glide to go down. So I hope that's a good explanation. That was kind of like a hard concept when I was in school. You know, you can memorize it all you want, and you know, that I guess, helps you for boards and just for tests. But I think actually kind of visualizing, okay, what's actually happening at the joint level, that helps a lot more than just, oh yeah, it's opposite directions, convex, concave, and just kind of saying all these words where you don't really visualize like what's happening at the joint. And I think that's going to be better for long-term retention instead of just straight up memorizing it. So let me know if that helps. I hope that is a helpful video. And let me know if you have any other topics or questions that come up in PT school that you want me to cover, and I'd be happy to do so. And I'll talk to you guys later.